Okay, we got FSX, so let's spawn at a gate. Let's change aircraft. And we're going to change to the Boeing 737 GoAirUK livery. And we're going to go to Birmingham. And that's Birmingham. And this is the important bit, the spawning at a gate. Let's go to gate 55 and press OK. So just to verify, we are going to spawn at gate 55. Let's change the time, not today, and we'll just leave the weather. Okay, let's enter Flight Simulator and see whether we spawn at a gate. Now I have some kind of scenery thing add-on, and it's not very good. So yeah, it's the UK 2000 scenery, but it's glitched out. So I'm gonna have to uninstall that. But just to prove that I have spawned at a gate, we're loading. But we're loading. Oh, okay. We've got EZDOC add-on as well. I think I've got hot button. There you go. Okay, we're at a gate, and just to prove that we're at a gate, there is the gate, and then there's that, and there's the runway. That is the spawning at the gate part of this video. Yeah, let's spawn at a gate. Okay, and now let's do the flight planning part of the P1 training. Okay, let's plan a flight. So we go to flights, flight planner, and today we are going to go from Birmingham, gate 55, to Heathrow. I've just decided Echo Golf Lima Lima, which is London Heathrow, and then we click OK. And there you go, you can see the departures here, Birmingham, gate 55, destination is Heathrow. And we're going to do IFR flight and a low altitude airways. And hopefully it's going to find a route for us. So if that's our route, if we zoom in, we can see we're going to be landing at 09 right as the runway, I think. If I can zoom in, I can see. 09 right, if it'll, yeah, that's 09 right, just saying. And it's quite nicely put a waypoint so that we're lined up, which is nice of it. And then we're departing there. Okay, our cruising altitude is going to be 12,000 feet, and we're going to click OK and save it. No, we don't want it. So now, hopefully, if we open up that, we can see, well, we could if we open the map, that might be a bit better idea, if I can find the button for it. We can see, hopefully, that we have the route planned into the inbuilt flight planner. There's waypoints and stuff, so that concludes that part of the flight planning. And we need to decide which runway we're going to take off on. And the way we're going to decide that is by pressing Shift Z. And we can see the wind is 23 at 3 knots. 23 is what we're interested in. Yeah, can't speak today, sorry. 23 is what we're interested in. No, I can speak. And that will decide which runway we depart from. Now, I've already worked that out, and it's runway 33. And the way I did that was 23 is the heading at which that's heading at which the wind is coming from. So if that is 360, that is 090. We're looking at the mouse, by the way. That's 360, that's 090, that's 180, that's 270. So between 360, there's 0, 0, 0, and then 0, 1, and that's 090, and 23 is about there. So the wind is coming across the runway, a slight crosswind. But we want to take off into the wind and that's the runway we're going to use, because if we did that we'd be slightly having a tailwind. So runway 33 is in use, and the way I'm going to verify that is by using the ATIS. Hopefully, if I can find the frequency for the ATIS. Oh, whoops. We nearly moved the aircraft then. We want to know what the ATIS frequency is, which is 136.005. 136.035. 136.05.
Birmingham Airport information, Delta 1231 Zulu, wind 023 at 3, visibility greater than 20 miles, in snow, sky conditions, few clouds at 2,100, ceiling 4,600, overcast, temperature 0, dew point -1, altimeter 3021, ILS, runway 33 in use, landing and departing, runway 33.
There you go, landing and departing, runway 33. That is what we wanted to know, and that's what it told us. So we found out that runway 33 is in use, which means we're going to taxi to runway 33, and that concludes the flight planning section of this video. Now we go on to, if I can see, we go on to tuning nav and comm radios. So yeah, that's what we're going to do next. Okay, now for the next part, which is tuning your nav and comm radios. Now let's do that. Let's get rid of the air terminal information, hopefully, if I click on it. There you go. Okay, now we need a frequency. Let's go to the map, and we're going to get the tower frequency for Birmingham. That was the wrong thing that I clicked on. We want airport, and this is the facility information for Birmingham International Airport. We want tower. We want that. 11830 is the tower frequency, so let's tune that into the radio. Shift 2 opens the radio stack, and we want COMM 1. We want 118, if I can tune. We do not want HP DeskJet Pro, well, whatever that is. That disturbed me. We want 11830 is the tower frequency for Birmingham. And then to put it into the active, we switch it, and that's in the active now. And then to talk to air traffic control, if we were in a multiplayer session, we'd hold down caps lock and say something. So that is concluding the comm. Now we need the nav, which is exactly the same, but for example we're going to use Heathrow's ILS approach to 09 right, which is this runway, and as I said, it is 09 right, and the frequency that we're interested in is 109.50, and we'd do that into nav 109, and I've forgotten it. I think it was 50. I'm not quite sure. I have the memory of a fly, because flies don't have memory. There you go, 50, I was right. So it's 109.50, and then we switch it, and there you go, that's in the active. And then apparently, according to the video, it is also good practice to put it into the nav 2 as well. So we're going to do that right now. There you go, and we switch it to the active. So now we have the comm set to 118.30 for the tower, which, to be honest, you'd probably tune to the delivery first, and then ground, and then tower. But that was just an example. And then we have nav 1 and nav 2 set up for the ILS approach. Not that you do it right now, it was just showing you that I can tune a radio stack. So that is part 3. Part 4 is setting up a squawk code. Okay, now for part 4, setting a squawk code. Now to do that, I'm going to open the radio stack, hopefully, if I'm actually on Flight Simulator. There you go. And the squawk code section is, I'll make that a bit bigger for you. There's a big radio stack. The squawk code section is here, and to set it, for example, let's say 7700, which is, I think, the emergency mayday squawking thing. So 7 oh, I can't click. There you go, 7700. Yeah, I've set the squawk code to 7700, which means we are in trouble. Don't worry, I'm in single player, so you don't have to worry about that. That's setting a squawk code. I'm now going to taxi to the runway, and well, the next section is landing lights, so I'll see you when I've taxied to the runway. Okay, we're now at the holding point on runway 33, and we're just going to demonstrate to you about landing lights. They're quite important, to be honest, and the rule about these landing lights here is you turn them on, and I'll turn the taxi lights and the logos and the strobes on as well, and then I'll also turn the seatbelt sign on, just because I feel like it. Basically the rule is that below 10,000 feet the lights need to be on, and above 10,000 feet they need to be on. When ascending through 10,000 feet, you turn them off when you get to 10,000 feet, and then when descending, you turn them on when you get to 10,000 feet. That is the generalized rule. I don't know whether I was meant to tell you that, but I did anyway. So now, we can get into the air, and the next section is autopilot functions. So, yeah, I'll see you in the air. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the basic autopilot functions. Let's go on to the autopilot. Now, working from left to right, the course, we're going to use that for the ILS landing. The flight director needs to be on, the auto throttle needs to be armed, and the speed needs to be set to 250, because we can't exceed 250 under 10,000 feet. Beyond that, we can go as fast as we like within, well, the airframe limits, obviously. Okay, 250 is set. We're not going to actually put that button because that will make us speed up, and we don't want to yet. Then after GPS needs to be set to GPS, because it will be following the GPS heading when I click the VOR localizer button, because that will follow our flight plan, which you can't see because it's behind us and we're zoomed in a lot. It will follow this little flight plan here, basically. When we click the VOR, if it's set to GPS, it will work on the flight plan. If it's set to nav, it will follow our nav radios, which are still very big, so I'm going to make them smaller. It will follow these nav radios here and here, which are set to the current frequency, which wasn't really very important. The heading select, we're going to set that to 330, which is we'll maintain runway heading until I'm ready to start the turn onto the flight plan. It says 330 set. Well, okay, it's now set. And the altitude can be set to our cruising altitude, which is going to be 12,000 feet, which is set. And then we'll play Command A, which is the autopilot master switch, will be set when we're in the air, and then the vertical speed will automatically be set when we set the altitude hold switch, and this is the first officer's version of our course and flight director. So that concludes that. So let's get this baby into the air. We're going to select flaps 10 just because it sounds awesome, and that's the amount of flaps that we're going to need. And let's go. I wouldn't let you miss the interesting bit, obviously. And that's 100% throttle. And I cannot see the speed tape, unfortunately, but I think if we, 80 knots. It's quite inconvenient that I cannot see it. In fact, now I can. V1, rotate. Okay, we're going to maintain 15 degrees of climb, because that's the awesomest thing. Okay, now we're in the air, we can look at the autopilot, hopefully, and try and maintain. So we're going to switch the speed on to going to maintain 250. We're going to switch that on, and we're going to switch that on, and then the autopilot, and now I can let go of the controls. But now I also need to monitor it to see whether it's doing what I wanted it to do. Positive rate, gear up, and the flaps can go up as well. So, now that we're in the air, we're gonna see whether it's doing the right thing. 250 is checked, heading is checked, altitude, and that's checked. Okay, I think we're gonna follow the common rule of once we're out of the ILS feathers, we can start our turn. That's just because that's what I do. I start my turn onto the flight plan, which is 180 degrees behind me, which isn't the most convenient runway to take off on. 15 probably would have been the most convenient. And basically we're going to have to start our series of turns using the heading select. We're going to use the heading select to start our series of turns so that we can then switch it to the VOR localizer, which will then follow the flight plan that we've pre-assigned. And I think we should really start our turns now. So, let's start the turns. And we're going to start off with a heading of 300. Okay, so I think we'll start with a heading of probably 150. Just because, actually no, let's go to 330 so we don't, actually no, 150, because that's the heading of the runway that we could have taken off on, but we didn't. And I think I set the bank angle to be yeah, I've just figured out how to change the bank angle for the aircraft. I think we'll change it, make it a bit higher because it's a bit slow of a turn. We're doing a 30-degree bank, we are. Not the safest. Let's go outside the aircraft. So, we're currently using the basic functions of the autopilot, and we're currently turning to a heading of 200. And then we'll turn another 50 degrees to hopefully line up with, well, we won't perfectly line up with the flight plan, but we'll get close enough so the autopilot doesn't have to do too much work. And we are currently doing quite a steep bank, to be honest. Let's keep this turn going. Whoa. It's getting a bit turbulent. So yeah, 160 is 170. I keep accidentally changing the bank limit. So we'll just increase that again. Just because we were turning too slowly. No, we're currently still turning. Currently 165 is on the heading select. The reason I'm doing this is just so that we save the autopilot some kind of work and make it less chance of it getting it wrong. Okay, 150 is set on the autopilot. We can go back into nice view and look out the window. There isn't much to see, to be honest, because I have my thing set on such a bad graphic settings. There's not much to see. Okay, we're now nearly parallel to the runway 15 and the 33, and I think we should start. I'm going to arm the, well, I'm not going to arm it, I'm going to engage it. And we can see it's deselected the heading select, and now the aircraft will try and follow the flight plan. Remember, we are still maintaining 250, and we're still climbing, I think. To be honest, I haven't really been monitoring that. We're coming up to 10,000, so we're gonna... Okay, we're at 10,000. We can now turn off the landing lights. and also the taxi lights. But we're going to leave the logos, strobes and anti-collisions on, and also leave the seatbelt sign and no smoking. That's not really relevant, to be honest. No smoking and seatbelt sign, but oh well. And we can also now see the aircraft is about to intercept the flight plan, which is perfect. We've got 2 minutes to go, so I will see you when we have intercepted the flight plan. Okay, now we're back, and the plane is just about level at 12,000 feet at 250. We're not really going to increase the speed just because this is a short flight. As you can see, we're currently flying on the flight plan. We've got 44 miles to go until we get to the next waypoint, and then we're going to start our approach at pretty much that waypoint. So yeah, we're doing pretty good, to be honest, and that concludes the basic functions, I think, of the autopilot. And I'll see you when we're just about ready to do our approach. So yeah. Okay, now that we are about, let's see, about 27 miles away from the airport, we're going to start preparing for our landing. Now, just like our takeoff, we need to be taking off into the wind, and we also need to be landing into the wind. Now, the way we're going to do that is not by pressing Shift 5, because that probably wouldn't do us very much good at the moment, because it wouldn't be able to tell us the information about the airport. We're going to be going to World Map, and then we're going to be looking at the map. Now, we're still quite a long way away from the airfield, but that doesn't matter because it's always nice. It pays off to, well, do it to prepare. So, things that we need to note are the ATIS, and for some reason there's two ATIS. I don't know why, but I think we'll just do the top one, and we need to note the frequency, which is 121.85, and then we also need to note the runways, and more importantly the ILS frequencies, and, well, I can't really highlight it, the ILS and the course, basically. And also an important thing is obviously the airport elevation, which is close enough to 0 so that it doesn't really matter to us. If it was 5,000 feet above the ground like Denver, then it would matter. So yeah, I'm going to note down, actually no, I won't note those down until we find out which runway we need. So let's go back to the aircraft and go to the radio stack and tune the ATIS frequency into our COMM 1, which is 121.85. Let's keep going. And we're going to switch frequencies to the active. Let's see what they got to say. We need to find out what runway is in use.
Sky conditions clear. Temperature 152.5. Altimeter 2992. Visual. Runway 9er right and visual. Runway 9er left in use. Landing and departing runway 9er right and runway 9er left. IFR aircraft stay direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions.
So basically it's telling us that 9er left and 9er right are active. So just so that we, for convenience, our aircraft is going to be flying to runway 9er right. So that is the runway that we are going to land at. And now we need to go back to the map to find out the ILS frequency, which hopefully is going to say it's 109.50. And I think we've already written that, but the most other important thing is the course heading, which is 93. We've already got the ILS frequency written into our radio stacks, both of them, nav 1 and 2. But we now need to go to the virtual cockpit and the autopilot to enter the course heading, which is 93. Now this is going to take ages. Probably should have gone the other way, but oh well. That's too far. Sometimes this shaking cockpit can be really annoying when the buttons move around. So yeah, we're just putting that into the course selecting. So that 9.3 is now put into the course select, and we're pretty much set up for the approach. I'll be back, hopefully, when we get to, well, when we get close to the airport, close enough to be preparing to descend. So I'll be back in a couple of minutes. You now join me as we are descending to 10,000 feet, so when we get to 10,000 feet we're going to have to turn the landing lights back on again, but we're not there yet. Okay, we're now descending through 10,000 feet, as you can see, so we're now going to have to turn on the landing lights. They are important. So we've just done that. And this is the really boring part, the descending down to the altitude of 5,000 feet and then down to 3,000. So I'll see you when we get to 5,000. Okay, I'm back. Basically what the airplane, well, what you missed is the airplane is now turning onto the runway heading. We've also slowed to 160 knots with full flaps and the gear. And then we've also, it's on the nav VOR localizer. Now we're at 3,000 feet, but we're only 2,500 feet above the ground. The auto throttle's armed and flight directors should be on, as they are now. We've set the course of 093, and then we've also just about in line with the runway now. So basically what will happen when this diamond starts moving, we can switch to approach hold, and that is what we're going to do. And also when it starts moving we can also slow down to 140 knots as our descent speed. So that's basically what you missed. And I'll be back when this diamond decides to move. Okay, the diamond is now moving, so we can now go and switch over to approach. And hopefully, if it's done it correctly, it shouldn't move sideways. Just a little tiny bit to correct itself, which it is moving right, very tiny bit. And we've also slowed now to 140 knots, and flaps are full and the gear is down. The landing lights are on. Taxi lights don't need to be on yet until we get on the ground. And the fasten seatbelt sign are now on. We've got quite a high angle of attack at the moment for an approach, but as soon as we hit this little diamond we'll disengage the autopilots, and it has done that. It's disengaged the altitude hold and it's now flying us down to the ground, which hopefully should go all perfectly alright. Yeah, I'll be back when we get
2,500.
Yeah, we're at 2,500. I'll be back when we get to about 1,000 feet.
200.
Glide slope.
I've now taken control, and we're gonna land.
100.
Glide slope.
10.
That was a nice landing rate of minus 219, which isn't bad for an ILS approach. Okay, we're at 40 knots. Let's disengage that and let's taxi off the runway. Okay, there you go. That is the completion of this section of the P1 rating. Now let's move on to the IFR Circuit. So I'll see you when I'm going to go back to Birmingham and we're going to do an IFR Circuit at Birmingham. So I'll see you there. Hello, I now rejoin you back at Birmingham on runway 33, which is the active today. We're going to do an IFR Circuit to land back on runway 33. So we need to set the autopilot. Heading is probably, if we can find out that runway heading, I don't know whether it's 33 or 33, I don't know, but we can find out if I can click on it. Yeah, 330 is the heading that we're going to maintain, runway heading, after we take off. Hopefully, if we can get it to say 330. So 330 is the runway heading, and we're going to switch to, I think we'll leave that on now because we'll be doing an ILS approach. Our speeds, we're going to maintain 250 under 10,000 feet, so 250. That's quite fast, but it's alright for this exercise. Now we're going to arm the auto throttle, and the flight directors need to be on. The course is going to be 330 because we need to set up for the approach, just so we don't have to do that on approach. 330. And the altitude is going to be, we're going to maintain, let's say 3,000 feet, because that is useful. Okay, we need flaps 5 for takeoff, hopefully, if we can see the gauge. I think flaps 5 is, that's 2, and that's 5. So we're flaps 5 for takeoff. Let's go. And once again, I cannot see the speed tape, but that shouldn't be a problem. 80 knots. V1. Rotate. That was 130. I just saw 130, so we're alright. Maintaining 15 degrees of climb. Well, we're trying to. Not 20, we're on 15. Positive 8, gear up. And the flaps can go up as well. And then we can focus on the autopilot. Now speed can go to 250. Heading, we're maintaining runway heading, and that. Now we can let go of the controls and let it do it. Now I think it would be a good time to look at this. Okay, so when we get to the end of the ILS feathers, or maybe to the inner marker, inner boundary, we'll turn right. And then when we reach this boundary, I'm going to turn right again for the downwind leg. And then, well, we're going to do exactly the same. And then we're going to intercept the ILS at a 45-degree angle, just like it said on the video. So we haven't quite got to the end of the beacon. We're currently maintaining 3,000. So this is going to be a very low altitude circuit. If we can actually see where the airport is. It's around here. So it's not the lowest altitude one that you could think of, but yeah. Okay. We've reached it, so that's 330, that's 34, 35, 36, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. We're going to do probably a heading of 050, and if that, we'll try it, see whether that's right. 050. That's 055, but let's do 0506, because that's about 90 degrees.
2,500.
And once again we have the GPWS telling us that we're apparently 2,500 feet above the ground, but we are maintaining 3,000 feet above sea level, so we're alright in the math.
2,500.
Yeah, that is getting annoying now. It's telling us that we're 2500. We're not going anywhere. We're just 2500. Now we do know that, well, we got to verify it, that we can, when we're doing the downwind leg, we can verify that the runway heading, we can maintain a heading of 150, and we will be exactly parallel to the runway, which is useful to know. And I like to do a nice wide one, so we're going to start turning when we get to that section there. And I'll see you when we get there. Okay, we're going to start turning now to a heading of 150 so that we can try and get on that line. I'm going to do that in this section because that is just impossible. There you go, we're on a heading. Well, we're going to be turning to a heading of 150. We're just about getting it about right to be able to turn, and we'll hopefully go down this marker here. And we're close enough to the outer marker, well, outer boundary. In fact, actually, the outer boundary is over here, I think, but this is one of the boundaries. And we're about to fly parallel to the runway. And at some point, apparently we're at 2500, I'm not quite sure, because, I don't know, we're apparently over 3000 above sea level, but whatever ground level is, I don't know, let's find that out. We're going here to the airport. 327 feet. That's about 500 feet. So yeah, the GPWS was about right. And this is the really boring part that you really don't want to witness. The downwind leg. It's very long and it's kind of boring. So I'll see you when we get to just before the base leg turn. Okay, now we're going to turn right, because that's the ILSR, and I'd kind of like to be going along this line to a heading of hopefully 16, 17, 18, 19, 200, 210, 220, 230, about 230, about. But we can modify that if it's wrong, which it probably is, and that's the hardest way of doing it, so we're going to go into that mode of 230. It's about right. And we're also going to now slow down because we're going a bit fast. It's about 190. Actually, no, let's go to 170. Now we're going to extend some flaps to slow us down, just flaps 5. And what you missed me doing was I tuned the radios, the nav radios. Okay, now we got a warning because the flaps are down too much. Let's put flaps 2 then, because it doesn't like us. Yeah, what you missed me doing was tuning the nav radios, both of them, nav 1 and 2, to 110.10. And that's about right, you'd say. Not perfect, but about right. My estimates could do with a little bit of a helping hand. And then we're going to go 1415. So about 260. We're now going to turn and hopefully 269, we don't want that, we want 260. Which hopefully should help us intercept the ILS at a nice angle. Hopefully not give the ILS a too hard job of getting us on that glide slope. Now we are currently below the glide slope, which is what we want to be. We want to be
2,500.
Thank you for telling us that. Yes, we are below the glide slope.
2,500.
Okay, that GPWS is really annoying now. So yeah, we are below the glide slope, which is what we want it to be. We've got the glide slope diamonds, and hopefully the approach should be a little better than the last one. Okay, that glide slope diamond is now moving, so I'm going to engage that. And so far it's keeping us in a straight line. And we're now going to slow to 140 knots with full flaps and the gear down. Now that that glide slope diamond is moving, we're going to switch to approach hold. And it's also now going to hopefully disengage the autopilot's altitude hold switch. So this is working, hopefully. There's the runway over there. So these engines are working pretty hard. And it's now, as you can see, disengaged the altitude hold switch. And the before landing checklist that we're going to do is, from memory, we've got flaps down, gear down, autopilot is set. Overhead switches, we've got landing lights on, strobes on, everything is on. Perfect. Now we are super laggy at the moment, and this approach isn't the best one that we've ever done in my whole life.
Terrain.
And it's telling us that there's terrain.
Terrain.
Okay, the good thing is that we are now in line with the runway. The plane was trying to align itself, and now it's done that pretty well, to be honest. Okay, there we go. We're perfect. In line with the runway, because it says so just there. I sometimes worry that I trust the whole plane on this system that's landing itself, but then I realise that it is quite a good system, and it does work most of the time. Yeah, we're still on a quite nice
1,000. Pull up.
1,000. There you go. We're on a good approach.
Pull up.
There we go. Okay, we're gonna prepare now.
Approaching minimums. Minimums.
Okay, we're gonna disengage the auto throttle and leave it to set.
Pull up. $300. Pull up. Glide slope. 40, 30, 20, 10.
It was a bit of a hard landing. I will blame that entirely on the fact that My computer is lagging like hell at the moment. And we got speed brakes and reverse thrust to help us slow down. Okay, 40 knots. And the speed brake's up. So there you go, that is the IFR circuit. And I'll just taxi off the runway, just so we're out of the way. Okay, we're now off the runway. And now let's see. Parking brakes set. Let's see what the flight looked like. Let's view flight analysis. Okay, to be honest, the glide slope, pretty good. Yeah, we're a bit out of line there. Okay, so nice square with an angled, kind of like we go straight and then we angled it in like that. So there you go. That is the completion of P1 Checkride video thing that I've just done. Oh, there you go. We climbed, I descended to 2700 and then descended down. Here's the terrain that it kept telling me about. So that is again the completion of the P1 Checkride video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope I passed. I really hope I passed. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and this was Gav52 Thomas completing his Checkride. Thank you very much for watching.